Hi, this is Mrs. Zhu. Today we are talking about inequalities in their graphs. In our notes today that we did in class, you can pick one up because it was unavailable for me to put onto Edmodo tonight. So please see me and we will get one to you. Our homework tonight is done on page 91 in the notebook, and it is this homework assignment you see here. So let's get started. I'm actually not going to be going over the exact homework assignment, but we're going to do some examples to help you on your homework assignment tonight. So the definition of inequality is a math sentence, and what it has are these special inequality symbols, and they are like equations, but they're not, because they're not equal, and these symbols don't equal each other. So for example, the first symbol is known as is greater than. Sometimes we could say is more than. And the second symbol here you see is less than or is less than. Then we have is greater than or equal to, and it has an extra line below it. Just like this symbol where it's a less than and it has a line underneath it, and so it is less than or equal to. We also have this symbol here with the equal sign with a slash through it, and we said that that means is not equal to. So there are lots of numbers that make an inequality true, and it's called the solution of the inequality. So let's look at number 1 and talk about graphing, because we want to be able to show graphically how this will look on a number line. So in number 1, since x is less than or equal to 2, it means that that line underneath it will give us a closed dot. When I go to draw my number line, I do want to make sure I have arrows on the ends of the line. I don't have to have this many tick marks as you see here, but I definitely want to have at least 2 as a tick mark, and I could just have 1 and 3, and I don't need all these extra numbers. At the 1, I want 1 because I know that 1 is less than 2. If x was a number, then x could be 1. It could possibly be 0. It could possibly be 2 because x is less than or it's equal to 2. And it could be any of these numbers really all over here on the left, which means that x could also be anything close to 2, as you see these 2 dots here. Let me show you again. It could be 1.5. It could be maybe 1 3/4 right there. It could get really close to 2, and it could just really be anything that's 2 with a closed dot and shaded to the left side. This would be my old man, and I'm going to show you in the next slide what that means. In number 2, I have x as a number that is greater than -3. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my number line. At the -3, really, I told you in class you only really need the number -3 and then just the number on the left and the right side. So what I have here is I'm going to have an open dot. Let me show you what that means. Now, a number that would be greater than -3 could be -2, it could be -1, 0, and all the numbers here over here on the right. Now, it could be, this would be -2.5. It could even be -2 3/4. It could get really close to -3, but it's not going to equal to 3 because x has to be greater than that. So we're going to draw an open dot there because it means it's not part of the solution, but everything has to be greater than it. So then I would shade to the right like that. See what that means and why we're coloring and shading to the right, but we're leaving that open dot at -3 because it doesn't include it, and that's going to be my young man. So my young man will be in the next slide, but you'll see that there are 2 things you need to know about inequalities, and that is the dot that you use. So we've got a closed dot, which means it's part of the solution, so that's when you see the line underneath it because it's equal to. And then we have that open dot, which means that that number is not part of the solution, but that the number is not part of the solution. So meaning you'll see like the young man, greater than and less than symbols with no equal sign underneath it, because we don't want to include that number. And then we want to know which direction the arrow goes in. So if it goes to the left, then it is less than, and if it's going to the right, it's greater than. So here's my young man. It's got that open circle, and the old man who's got the wrinkles under his eyes and his big nose, that's a closed circle. So this is just to visually help you remember if I should use an open or closed circle. So let's do a couple examples. You can try this, so you can pause the video here. I'm going to kind of keep going though. So let's start with the first question. All real numbers that are less than or equal to 3. All real numbers just means numbers that are, well, real numbers are basically any number, including decimals. So that could be x. So we're going to represent that as an inequality. So a number that's less than or equal to 3 would be x, any number, less than or equal to 3. If I were to draw a number line, there's my number line, I would have either a closed or open circle at the 3. So at the 3, because of the less than or equal to symbol, at the 3, I want to use my old man, and I'm going to use a closed dot. And it's best to actually just draw it onto the line right here rather than below it, but I'm just showing you below it. And since x is less than 3, all numbers that are less than 3 would be on your left side. So we're going to color to the left. Sorry. And I do want to put that arrow right here on the red line so I could show that that shaded part is going on forever to the left. Number 2. Again, pause it if you just wanted to see the first one, but would like to try them by yourself here. All real numbers greater than -2, so that would be x is greater than -2. You'll notice that there is no equal to, so there's no line underneath that greater than symbol. So when I go to graph it, because it's greater than -2 and it doesn't include -2, I would use my young man and draw an open circle at the -2 and then color everything to the right since those numbers are greater than -2. And then number 3, x is less than -4, just like that. And my number line at the -4, I would draw an open circle because it's a young man and it does not include -4, and I want everything less than that. Now numbers that are less than -4 would be going to in the direction to the left. Very good. And so my arrow goes to the left. Try these by yourself. You'll see a couple different words, but we did cover it in our notes today. So pause the video and try them first before we go over the answers. Number 4, we have x is greater than or equal to 2. Now x is at least, so if something is at least that, could I have x be 5? Well, if x is at least 2, 5 is definitely at least 2. 1, could x be 1? Well, 1 is not at least 2, so 1 wouldn't work. So when I go to represent my inequality, I know that x is going to be a number that's greater than or equal to 2. It could include 2, or it could be greater than that, which is why I have that line to represent the equal to 2. And then when I go to graph it, I want to use my old man, so I'm going to put a dot closed at 2, and I want to shade to the right since x is greater than 2. Number 5, just as exactly how it says y is less than -2. When I go to graph it, at the -2, I'm going to draw an open circle since it's not equal to and it doesn't include -2. I just want everything less than that. So the numbers that are less than -2 would be going in the direction to the left. Very good. And number 6, n is no more than 4. Well, if it's no more than 4, we could also say that n is a maximum of 4, or that n, the limit that I have is 4. So maybe I'm only allowed to get 4 questions right since the test only has 4 questions and I really can't get more points than 4. So since that's the case, then x will have to be less than or equal to 4. I don't know why I used x when I should have used the letter n. And it's less than or equal to 4 since it can't be any more than that. So I know that when I go to graph, it's going to include 4, so it's going to be the old man. I'm going to put a dot at 4. I could have 4 or anything smaller than 4 since it's no more than 4, so I'm going to color to the left, and there's my answer. A couple more examples, but now we're going to do it a little backwards. I'm going to give you the graph and you're going to write in the inequality that describes it. So for number 1, I'm just going to pick any variable. In all of the questions, I'm going to pick any variable. So I'm going to pick x. Now x happens to be less than 2 because I've shaded to the left, and I don't want it to be equal to no line underneath it because it's an open circle, and I want to use 2. here for number 2, I see that my dot starts at -1, so I want to have an x and a -1, and because x is going to be greater than or equal to, I'm going to, because I shaded to the right, then x is greater than or equal to -1. Try the next 4 by yourself, and I'm going to reveal the answers. Here we go. Here are the answers. And you will notice that in all of these answers, number 3 is open, so you don't see a line underneath it. And since it's shading to the right, x is going to be greater than 0. Now, in class, we talked about how we could write 0 is less than x. Okay, this sentence here is the same. X is greater than 0, and here, if I read it backwards from right to left, x is all still greater than 0, so it's really the same thing. But all these answers are the proper way of writing inequalities, where the variable comes first, and then our inequality symbol, and then our number. Here's some more equations and just some extra help for you, where you'll see it connected to a real life example. So let's say that we looked at the sentence that says fewer than 45 people have attended a show. Then if I were to choose a variable like n to represent the number of people who attended the show, then since fewer than 45 people attended, we would use a variable n, and we would say that it's less than 45. Since 50 people didn't attend it, but possibly 30 did, so 30 is a number that is less than 45. If I were to put it right here, 30 less than 45, that would be a true statement. So that would tell me that my inequality is correct. Whoops. Let's try the next one. Let's say I want to have a high fiber foods, and I have at least 5 grams per serving. Then the F would represent the servings, fibers per servings, and since it's at least 5 grams, then it would be greater than or equal to 5 grams. Since I want it to have at least 5, maybe it has 20 grams, maybe just 6 grams or 7 grams or 9 grams, then F would represent any number that's greater than or possibly equal to 5. And here's a couple of other examples, again using limit as the key word here, whether it's weight, it could be speed. So we did talk a little bit about this. In speed limit, we want to use the less than or equal to symbol. And for a weight limit, again, we also want to use t is less than or equal to 5. Since that's the limit and that's really the maximum, you can't have any more. Don't go over that amount. You can have no more than that limit. Then we want to use the less than symbol. T is less than or equal to 5 here, and speed S is less than or equal to 35. I hope that has helped you a little bit, and you'll see just another quick example just to end the slideshow. And so good luck on your homework, and watch this as many times as you need to. We do have a big test coming up next Friday, and our quarter is going to be ending soon. So don't forget to also spend time asking your parents to help you get that new notebook that you need. Some of you only have 4, 5, 10, 20 pages. I would really advise you to start getting a new notebook very soon. Okay, the quarter will be ending, and so you can wait till then, but for the next notebook check it would be best. See you tomorrow. Bye.